I'm definitely dying to see if we get that neon lock-in. I don't think we will. I think it was a bait tweet from the beginning. But if we got it, I will not complain. Reminder for everyone watching at home, the gray is what they're most likely to lock in, and then the green is what they do pick. So no neon here, womp womp. But still, thoughts on the composition overall, Sideshow?
It's actually a composition that they've played in the past. They had SicK playing the KO previously, and it did not go well for them. Sentinels, they pulled this out, actually, a while back. Let me try and figure out who it was. I can't remember their opponents. It was in a game against Rise, and they lost 13-7. And at that point, it was, you know, not even an amazing map for Rise. It was like when Rise was on the come up, and they ended up dropping it. So this is one of those big questions with Sentinels. Have they got something new? And it turns out in this instance, it's not necessarily new, it's different, but it's them kind of going back to a comp that they have played in the past and didn't look too great. So I'm hoping at least, even if the comp isn't new, the way in which they play it is. And they've got some ideas maybe like for early knives to take away Zif's ability to wall, or, you know, those kind of ways of specifically countering the Knights setups.
Yeah, because I like the KO. I think KO is really strong on this map. I think it's one of the weaknesses in Knights not being willing to play it. So I'm excited to see how it works in the new look here for Sentinels.
Well, we'll take a look at that in just a second as the players are ready and standing by. We've got our casters, Shift and Dust, to take us into the map. Take it away.
Gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Yes, I'm Shift. This is Dust. Happy to be here. Happy to kick off week number 2. And the biggest thing here, Dust, is, you know, as much as we love to go back and look at Sentinels and say that, yeah, I think Bren's, you know, Sideshow and then we got the desk overall has a really good cover-up of saying, hey, they're not playing anything too weird. This is a map that they're not necessarily notorious for, but that whole instance where they played Rise with this composition was like 6 months ago. So we will learn something here today.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't played a lot of Ascent in recent memory, honestly. And they've been kind of mixed results for us. They're 3-3 in their last 6 games on Ascent. So it has been a map that hasn't been at the top of their pool in comparison to some of the heavy hitters that they have, like a Haven or a Bind or something like that, which we will see later, potentially. Certainly in the case of Bind, we will definitely see that. And then, yeah, for Knights, it's about trying to reestablish your dominance. They had a 20-game winning streak on Ascent until they got absolutely blasted by version 1, and they're keeping the exact same composition they've played all 21 games so far on this map with, which includes that, you know, unique take on bringing a Sage into Ascent, something that, you know, not a lot of other teams are doing these days.
Yeah, a lot of lack of the flashes, I think, was a huge problem for Knights on their executes, generally speaking, from their offensive side. So that's, at least for my curiosity, will be perked up initially. Defensive split for Sentinels is looking as you would expect. Alarm bot mid, a little bit of a 2-2 stack with the ability for SicK to float. This is what you would expect from Sentinels as well.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing with Knights is normally their attack has been strong. They start on attack a lot because they pick this map a lot, and they usually get 7 or more rounds on their attacking side. So well over 60% of their, you know, rounds go their way on attack, and they do that without the flashes. Against V1, though, it was a problem, and against Sentinels, another very strong team. Something you're going to have to think about as they try to make their way here into the A site. Drone leads forward, as well as the Asher utility trying to get in here. They're actually trying to threaten SicK a little bit up top, but they're not looking at the man below. That's Ban and company that's getting all kinds of entries.
Yeah, the entry from Ban was near flawless just before the fragment comes through, and then the final shot will also connect, leaving ShahZam for a 1v4. Obviously not a situation you're going to be feeling all that favorable about, but see if you can at least make it somewhat interesting. Either it's off of kills from exits, or maybe just information as he tries to make a play for a retake. And as he gets the first point of contact versus Ban, nothing there. So how about it? Quick little stack of utility for the Knights. They worked their way on and only drop 1 in the process.
Yeah, really well done. Very clean victory there. You can tell that there was a lot of attempt at having to play retake on the site, but as Sentinels tried to crack through, they just got mopped. I mean, SicK and company was trying to get something going from heaven. They never really could get out into the open here. They just got blitzed over towards generator position, and that was pretty much a done deal. But, you know, one of the things that the desk talked about, and something that you're talking about a lot as well, Shit, is it wasn't the pistols that were the problem for Knights against version 1 in week 1. It was the gun rounds. So, well, that's a great, you know, first round to get. They still have a lot of work to do here coming in as the underdog.
And the point was brought up on the desk, but only 4 full buy round wins for Knights versus version 1. Definitely a mark for improvement to come through. Ban is going to get a read that SicK is playing close, and well, the crossfire is set up beautifully. Fragment keeping things at least somewhat delayed, but SicK is still essentially caught in this corner, and as the second point of contact comes through, it will be a prime gaming flawless for Knights. Really solid read. And let's be honest, like, we expect Sentinels to full stack when it comes to eco rounds like that. So homework done, I would say, for Knights.
Yeah, you know, getting their attack starting early again, that has been their strong suit. Again, since they pick it, they play attack first half a lot. And again, they're normally on that pace for 7 or more rounds. So getting these first 2, certainly putting them in that pattern. Worth noting that while we haven't seen Sentinels play a lot of Ascent recently, since TenZ has been on the team, they do have an 11-4 record. So it's not like they're slouches on this map, particularly really strong on defense. This is where they're, of course, starting this half. So we'll see if they can keep that up as they get rewarded with a chance at fighting against the Knights bonus. And Knights are looking to just kind of gather up and play B lobby. It's worth noting that Knights is a very fast-paced team. They love these explosive little hits where they just kind of gather up and go. And when you're in a bonus round like this where you're using a lot of Spectres, you want to try to close that distance early, but they're getting denied this space at B lobby for free.
Yeah, good information for ShahZam, just kind of peeking the corner, finding some damage, and then backing away. That will force a couple of defenders to start to rotate. Zip up top, and to get the wall for a bit of high ground. And Ban, once again, just dashing forward, able to at least retrieve one rifle after the first hill comes out, but can't make any use of it. So now ShahZam is kind of stuck behind this slow orb inside arches. Good isolation for the Knights as they make their way on. Should lead to a spike plan.
Yeah, and that's one of the things Knights are known for on this map is these bursty plays with the stage boost through window with the barrier. And now it's going to force Sentinels to have to play a retake here. TenZ able to get it back into a 3 versus 3, and they do have a lot of utility and the superior firepower. They also have Frosty down very low on HP. There's definitely still a way in.
Well, it's going to be a stack from the staircase, spamming things down. Ziff only able to collect 1. Frosty still staying concealed by the double boxes, though close. Now here's the reload, makes his position known, and capitalizes quickly for the double. It's Knights 3 in a row, and a huge economical advantage now starting to build for them on their offensive half.
Yeah, just really clean entries from Knights there on their bonus, and then just isolating ShahZam in the back of the site. He's got so many angles to worry about at once. The support's not quite there yet. Just easy pickings. I mean, yeah, certainly a nice kill there from TenZ to try to give them a chance in this retake. He was, getting a lot of frags, but it's just Frosty playing this unchecked double stack position, able to be the insurance policy to close round. Now Knights well set up to get the 4-0 start, as it is going to be the sheriff round here from Sentinels. No ults yet, though TenZ is only 1 away from getting daggers out. But this is the thing, man. Sentinels are so dangerous in these types of rounds because of the individual skill of the team. You cannot count them out when they have sheriffs in their hands. Well,
Skuba up top does not catch any information on the 2 Sentinels members initially who did play through A arch, through main. Could still be another set of contact to come through, though, as Sentinels are still feeling frisky from this position. And a lot of respect, as you had mentioned. Yeah. I mean, you have to give it, and Knights are doing that. So very clinical as far as how they want to try to hit this round.
I mean, think back to last week, the way that the Sentinels NRG series ended was basically an eco round like this on Bind, where they won with a bunch of sheriffs. So again, Sentinels are very capable of making a lot of things happen. That's one of the edges you get when you have these many skilled players on the same roster, as you give them a playmaking weapon like a sheriff, and you still have a chance to maybe pull one over. And that's why, Knights have to respect this. They have to make sure they're clearing out space with their utility, make sure they're not getting, kind of thrown into some type of trap. And, Frosty's kind of leading the way here, burning a lot of the opponent's utility, getting some space, giving them a launching pads. Again, they're just going for these B set pieces they're so well known for.
Good forward. Nanostorm, though, does delay any defensive rotators. dapr able to collect 1, though, still from that same defensive archway. But with this, Knights have made their way on. Genghsta still just kind of throwing shoulders, able to collect another elimination onto ShahZam. And, this is where you start to see the utility really stacking up. Shock darts to delay, even getting a bit of chip damage onto TenZ, who still could burst his way on towards site. But the question will be here, is there any real true follow-up, or are you just going to try to play for a couple of exit kills? We'll find out, as here comes the slow lurking move, and it's Genghsta from the back corner, same angle. Holds down the trigger for 3 straight headshots, really kind of nullifying any sheriff pressure that TenZ was trying to put together, and it's a 4-0 start for the Knights.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how Sentinels will now adjust defensively. They're on a full buy. They had the operator in TenZ's hands. They have plenty of utility. TenZ also has the ult if he needs to go scrappy in close range situations with the daggers. And again, you have to know that Knights are going to keep bringing these heavy executes. They like to load up the box and just go out swinging with their utility and trade fragging. That's kind of their style, that up-tempo play. And so I'm curious if Sentinels are going to try to find a way to get aggressive in their own right and try to disrupt them a little bit. Don't let them get comfortable in one of these lobby areas. Try to get an early pick, and, well, there you go. TenZ out middle. It's going to burn that res early, but the re-peek is punished.
Oh, and I love the cross angle from Genghsta, just knowing, okay, well, if there's going to be some threat here through mid, let's just make sure I've got a cross angle just in case things get interesting. So the res comes through, and all of a sudden what was a 5v4 has turned into a 5v3 the opposite direction. dapr, careful here. Ban's feeling saucy. You could definitely feel the hot hand lurking from last week going into this week. And this is going to be a really tall ask here for Sentinels, who still, by the way, have ShahZam committed to B. So dapr's going to go over to try to help, and it'll be a 2v5 on eventual execute here from the Knights.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if Knights are going to go for that same boost play with the barrier through the windows that they're known for on their stage. But they're just going to try to get in here quick. And yeah, they're getting in here. They're closing out market with utility. They're trying to get the switch, but dapr's Nano Swarm stops them from getting that door closed early and gets a kill back. And he's in this double stack corner. Will they check him? There's also Odin in the back of the site.
Ban's able to take down one. Off the plant, though. dapr, 1v1, sees the shoulder of Ban, takes the peek, finds the fourth. 1v1 now with XXiF on the site. Gets the information. You can't hide that ponytail. But XXiF will back away just for a small moment. zombs has made his way on towards site, and XXiF may not know this, but maybe a chance to isolate. No, Sentinels, largely, it's a 2v5 on site, and zombs will confirm the full-on 3v5. Sentinels on the board.
Man, dapr showing you his value there. He may not be the same consistent fragger that a TenZ or a ShahZam or a SicK is. And to be honest, he's actually even had a couple individual struggles kind of towards the end of last year, but he is always good in these little clutch moments where he's stuck alone. He's having to play patient. He's having to, keep his composure. He's so good in those moments. He really shows you the role that he can play on this team, just kind of locking things down with the killjoy. And that was a big quad kill to get Sentinels on the scoreboard. How will Knights respond? Looks like they want to play a little bit more spread, maybe try to implement some mid control, but just tone it down a little bit.
Well, this time, look at all the utility spent just to make sure that there is no operator of TenZ mid. No safety blanket of the resurrection this time. But, observers are really catching this nicely. The ability that dapr brings is not just his individual clutch, but his different looks setup-wise have been really, really cool. This time, a lot of that being stacked up towards tree. And as the lockdowns create a bit of a Venn diagram through mid, here comes the hit. Ban has to actually push through all of that utility from the placement of dapr in. Well, they do get their way onto site, but it's not what I would call clean. And dapr reveals his position up time for another double, and then just toying with this food. XXiF, nowhere to go. And dapr, another triple for him in the round.
Man. That was so well played from Sentinels because, Knights are burning their lockdown early to get tree control. They want to use that to pave a way forward for an A split. They're trying to push anybody off from playing inside tree or inside window and give them that clear avenue. But then there's the counter lockdown from dapr that comes into play that isn't destroyed or really tampered with. He's able to use that to come out heaven, get a couple of big kills, and really shut down that A split. And so that was really well done from dapr. Already halfway to another. Always had a hot start in this game. 8 kills in 6 rounds played. 2 big individual rounds to get them the 2 rounds that they got.
And it's not just the 2 rounds in a row. It could potentially flip the economy on its head here. Such a solid start from Knights, not just in, of course, the 4 straight rounds, but how cleanly they were winning them. Now you've got Ban on blades. Everybody else low on their full eco, except for really Frosty, who's still carrying 1,200. So there will be an opportunity to buy, but this is an important round for Sentinels, trying to reestablish some dominance. And, well, these knives are just going to be used to kind of wait for this owl drone to push through and make sure that no one is sitting through mid. Knights will realize that at least the opening archway is safe and maybe a chance to get some information through tree before eventually the owl drone expired.
Yeah, smoking off cats so they can start getting some space out into middle. There is an alarm bot that is watching for any type of deeper mid pressure towards market or gelato, but mid control certainly well established by Knights. They still have plenty of time. They're clearing out their corners now, starting to set up this A split. There is a defense in place. Top A and inside tree to try to shut this split down. Good pop flash. You're going to force the attack back and give Sentinels a little bit of intel and kind of confirm this. And now here comes the ult, and here comes the kill from zombs.
So good. The null command completely putting this attack into essentially what is a crawl. Skuba, though, able to work his way forward. That's decent for another elimination, but the problem is it's him and Genghsta versus what's going to feel like the world, especially with Sentinels stacked up towards heaven like this. TenZ, a little bit of a peek over the top of the generator. Nothing there. And it's the simple fact that it's one flash that pulls an updraft and the tailwind from Ban. There's no follow-up from there. It's a slow crawl towards A, and Sentinels happy to punish.
Yeah, again, it's a great read off of that pop flash. They get a big reaction, so they get the confirmation. It is indeed that A split mounting. Zombs able to catch a frag around the nebula, and then null command comes out to shut down the utility for the rest of the attack, and that's a good adjustment from Sentinels. Now they have a great chance to tie this thing up at 4-all. As we talked about, that Knights economy not in the best shape. They are still able to bring out a Guardian and a Vandal and still save up some money for the next round, and so this is a big chance for Sentinels. TenZ taking a new angle with the operator to try to get that B lobby presence early.
Oh, they're thinking about it, at least in some form. Owl drone's clearing up some space through mid. There's the peak, though. And actually, TenZ gets a second chance. I don't think he expected it, but regardless, ShahZam, who's avidly watching over the middle of the map, will take the double. And that will likely quell any attempt for Knights to actually hit towards B, and they're going to reconsider as they re-rotate back through mid and maybe take a look over towards A. And as they do, wait, Frosty actually collects a pretty free kill up through mid-map. Opportunity for more. Sentinels just kind of giving away a couple of the lives here through mid, giving this Knights attack a chance, but TenZ will come back through, find a kill. This is still punishing, though, out of just what is largely shares from the Knights.
Yeah, at least they know where Skuba is, though. He got that kill at tree. They have Spike down at middle. They have a 2 versus 1. Fragment's going to delay Skuba getting out to open space on Catwalk. But Skuba does have a Phantom. He does still have a little bit of time. If he can try to find a way to split these guys up and get a couple of 1v1s, there might still be hope. But what he doesn't know is that SicK is kind of taking a new angle. You know, that's the big problem. Now clock is starting to work against them. TenZ still holding this cat cross, baits out the shot, does get safely across the corner, but how's he ever going to get to the spike and get to a site?
Yeah. The initial nebula placed. Information on TenZ is watching from the crossover through B main. SicK still watching the long catwalk angle. Skuba obviously aware of this, actually catches a shoulder, but he has to win this round off of kills alone. Not enough time for a plant. SicK will just run back over towards spawn, and that will likely be the end of the round, at least in some form. But I still think overall, you take this if you're Knights. It's 1 rifle and a Guardian, and you found 3 eliminations with just the combination of those 2 plus Sheriffs. It's not bad at all as we go to a tied 4-4 game.
Yeah, certainly Sentinels were, willing to take a lot of fights out in middle, and it cost them. They lost a couple of frags to the Guardian. Going to force a little bit of rebuying out of them, keep their economy in check, not let them really spiral out of control. But now we're in an even ball game. It's 4 apiece. We only have a few rounds left to go this half. Sentinels has certainly, crawled this one back into a close game after a hot start from Knights. And now Knights need to think about, how do we want to adjust? I think the big thing that Sentinels are doing well right now is they're starting to let TenZ be a little bit more dynamic with the operator. He's starting to choose his starting locations and vary them up and kind of keep Knights guessing where they might get poked early. We're also starting to see, dapr kind of rotate that Killjoy utility, so they're never quite sure where they're going to run into that at. And Sentinels are doing a good job being assertive enough on some of these initial choke points to just get that early information. And they're not necessarily overcommitting to fights there either. Like
That's
the last
fair.
gun round, you had TenZ holding an angle at B lobby while his team was also pressed out A at the same time and got the intel that it was going to be a mid-focus. So they're doing a good job kind of getting that early kind of ability to make quicker rotations and just kind of get a read on the lay of the land. So, I'm kind of curious how Knights want to respond because, again, they're known for those up-tempo attacks, man. Particularly their B burst plays have been really powerful for them when they had that 20-game winning streak on this map. Particularly them implementing the Sage and kind of using that utility to really disturb that B site. It's been kind of one of their big breadwinners. So I wonder if they're going to get back to that after this timeout.
The timing of the timeout may seem early to some, but this is where Knights struggled versus version 1. We're in rounds like this. In their full buy versus full buy rounds, they were beat up by version 1, to say it candidly. So talk it through, get yourself a good setup, see if you can find a way to retake some sort of an advantage here in this opening half. Not a lot of opening pressure from Sentinels, although they do have a double stack through tree, which could lead to at least some catwalk control if they decide to get a little frisky here.
Yeah, they like that because it allows them to swing at middle if they need to, and they can play retake A if it's absolutely necessary. With the stalling tactic with that star there, we do see ShahZam pulling out the Hunter's Fury early, trying to check out B Link, and in the meantime, XXiF is taking a little bit of mid-presence. Again, that alarm bot is there, though, as kind of an early detection system, and ShahZam is watching for the market cross here. Might even throw some utility out there to get a little bit of chip damage if he, feels any type of presence. And so, I like what Knights are doing here. They're definitely, threatening mid-control. They're definitely trying to, poke and prod at these rotations. And now they're going to try to gather up here and look to hit A. And we can tell that Sentinels are very much set up for an A retake. So it's really going to come down to that. I think Knights shouldn't have too much trouble getting sight. They just need to make sure they don't lose too many resources along the way. Then it comes down to how well Sentinels can retake.
This opening cross is going to be everything. With Ban not having a tailwind, that's how Knights have largely wanted to connect in towards sight. So the Cosmic Divide will be called out, blocks off this play through Heaven. Nebula Gravity Wells also being placed on both sides of this attack. 15 seconds to go. SicK still holding close, though. Doesn't just get one, gets so much damage through some collided shots. Now down to 10 seconds as Frosty eventually gets the trade. Spike trying to be planted. 6 seconds on the clock, and Sentinels are going to allow this to happen as they set up for a retake.
They're fine with that, though. They got SicK a 2-for-1 trade to give them a man advantage on this retake now. That's brilliant from Sentinel's side of things. Now they just need to capitalize, and, well, that's a good start in the right direction.
Defensive Cosmic Divide blocks off A main. Frosty down low. Sees TenZ cross, but there's really nothing that he could do from there. The health pool's just way too low. SicK forward position just inside a door, largely everything on that hold. I mean, you don't have abilities for Van to dash into sight. You don't have any flashes to clear those angles. It's kind of a guessing game through smokes, and that time SicK punished.
Yeah, it's also a nice counter gravity well that came out from zombs to kind of set SicK up to come through and grab a couple of kills. He knew that time was starting to get a little bit tight. He knew that he was going to catch them all coming out together. Gets spiked down right off the rip, and that's a brilliant trade from Sentinel's perspective. You slow down everything, you build up even more time to set up your retake, and now you're coming in with man advantage thanks to SicK and zombs' efforts, and they're able to finish the job that's going to put them up 5-4. Knights back on the back foot on the economy. They have to come into this with just 2 rifles and 3 sheriffs. They do have a lockdown from Frosty, so that might give them a chance to get onto a site. They did last time use it to clear out tree, so I'm curious to see how they want to implement it here.
For what it's worth, by the way, that little updraft peek that you saw from TenZ to give ShahZam the information that there was a player on that little box stack was actually a really cool way to clear through the nebula, but we all wince a little bit in pain as Skuba does get tagged down to critical health. That will, of course, largely be mitigated by the healing orb of XXiF, and everything will be pretty much level for now. Looks to be at least some show of force through tree, but that will really only mildly inconvenience Sentinels as they send a couple of players to lean that direction, but this alarm bot will give them all the information to know that there is going to be a hit through mid. dapr even breaking the wall, flash over the top will delay this hit even longer, and Knights are almost stuck here. You got to get in. You got to get in quick.
Yeah, now the owl drone's out from ShahZam, watching them come out of B main. They're really ready for this. SicK tries to disrupt through, only good for 1, but ShahZam spam as well as dapr collecting a couple as well. This is being absolutely handled. Oh, or is it? Genghsta gets a couple back. This gets interesting. It's all in Frosty.
The plant will come through. Lockdown's available if Frosty wants it, but 12 HP and a dream really here in this 1v2 would have to be incredible shots with the Guardian in hand. TenZ up close, gets an opportunity, but TenZ dashes away. Pistol will finish the job. Not the neatest fight that we've seen, but regardless, one that you would expect Sentinels to take, and they do. So after the defuse, we'll have a 6-4 through 10. And outside of the opening 4 rounds, Knights have looked a little less convincing, I would say, as far as how they're able to set up these post plants.
Yeah, Sentinels are doing a better job kind of disrupting them in the early round situations, getting the early intel, and their retakes have just been so on point on both sides of the map. They're also getting great frag distribution. Everyone's teeing off right now. You know, it's 6 at worst and 10 at best for dapr. They have 3 ults coming into this round as well. We do have a res and a lockdown available for Knights. They need this round, man.
Yeah,
they need it. I mean, all their economy is essentially in this, and they have the ults available. Again, the lockdowns can somewhat cancel each other out, but outside of that, if you're Knights, this is your pick. This has been your strength of map by far this year. You've got to find out a way to make this work.
Early gravity well as information we'll see that, yes, TenZ is in this direction. Ban still wants to actually play off this a little bit longer, though. The spike is not a part of this hit, so again, just a show of force here for Knights. They're really looking for early information. Even the Nova Pulse being sent over through Wine, just in case there's a defensive lurker. But for the moment, it's largely just Sentinels happy to have that exchange of utility. They kind of come out on top with all that spent from Knights.
Yeah, they're able to get another orb as well. I believe that was to Genghsta, so he's getting closer to his Hunter's Fury. Should have it for final round of the half at the very least. As they're now starting to gather up more over towards B lobby. Drone comes out, though, and allows TenZ to get an aggressive angle on B lobby. He's very likely to get at least 1 frag and get out of here and slow this B attack down. ShahZam's still here for support as well. Oh, gets a little bit of intel with that. Might make Knights reconsider as now they want to try to put a little bit of emphasis at middle. SicK, though, could swing out at any moment. There is no Nebula blocking him just yet. And this gets interesting because they're running out of time. Now Nebula goes down. They're trying to get into, again, that tree clear with that lockdown. But SicK now playing inside the Nebula could, again, just really disrupt them here, at least pressure them.
And the flash will, again, delay any inevitable hit that's coming through. Even sends out the null command just in case, but Knights are waiting a little bit longer. Defensive lockdown will be placed as a counter. 1 player detained off the offense, but nothing really defined there as that was SicK who was put in detainment, and now he's recovered. 12 seconds on the clock. You've got to make a move. You've got to go quickly. SicK is still in a position to watch a lot of this cross, but Ban is able to help out. 2 kills coming through, but time is the biggest problem here. Spike's starting to be planted, and the kills will come through before the spike plant is even necessary. Flawless. Prime Gaming flawless, in fact, for Knights as they take the 11th, as we said, a necessary round for them.
Absolutely. And again, Sentinels did a good job with a lot of disruption throughout that round, but again, even though they had the early information, that lockdown still gives space to Knights, and they just won all their entries on this site, man. Nothing went Sentinels' way when it came to the dueling. They got absolutely rinsed by Knights, who just swarmed the site, and again, kind of showed you what their strength can be. When they're able just to gather up and get a little bit of space and get out into the open, they have a lot of great players who thrive in those like chaotic, scrappy trade frag moments, and they just came out huge, and wow, that's a great way to carry momentum. Big pick on TenZ early.
First time we've seen the operator really not be a part of the equation for Sentinels in some time. Shiri out, SicK. Flashy gets so much value off the pop flash, but can only collect a single kill through mid. Quickly, Skuba says time for the Cosmic Divide as the spike starts to rotate back through mid, maybe with a chance to get over towards tree. Defensively, it's a 2-1 split here, though, for Sentinels. The two defensive members are leaning towards A, so a chance to fight this back, but it would be a 2v4 on site, and zombs is going to commit forward through this Cosmic Divide, waiting to see if anyone's going to come out. And ShahZam over the backside through tree actually is able to collect another elimination. So this is actually very doable, especially with the chip damage that comes through. But Ban makes the numbers advantage that steeper. It'll be now a 3v1. Skuba will tally up the final onto ShahZam here, leaving just dapr on this recollection through mid.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Ban and Genghsta are low on health, so it's not impossible for dapr, but with no information, it's going to be tough. They're playing 2 under and Skuba playing on. A little bit of a headshot angle, and he gets the kill. And Knights, another brilliant attack there on the A site. Great entries, very clean take. Good early pick, and they capitalize. It's going to be a 6-6 tie. We'll come back after the break to see how it finishes off.
I got enough time.
Welcome back. We are halfway through our first map in week 2's group play action. The Knights, who had the first 4, stifled just a touch there in the middle, but do collect the 11th and 12th round, giving us a 6-6 half. But the thing about this, Dust, is this is where the Knights were by far the weakest versus version 1. They took no defensive rounds in their match from week 1.
And that's strange because their defensive win rate's over 70% on average on this map. They're 1 round off pace from their attacking side. They usually get around 7 attacking rounds. So at 6, not too shabby. We'll see what they can do here defensively on this very crazy split here from Sentinels, and it's a rapid one. They've already found a lot of space on B.
However, Frosty, the nanostorms will give a little bit of time and space to work with while the defense starts to rotate, and they're doing it kind of in a split fashion. You got a flank from either side coming through, so Sentinels, you need to win from the front or delay these flanks from happening, and they're kind of winning the war on both fronts at the moment, as kills will be collected very rapidly, leaving Skuba left alone through B main, and 3 different Sentinels members looking right at him. There's the suppression, dapr on the peak behind it. Easy collection for 3 as Sentinels take the pistol around in the second half.
Yeah, and again, worth noting that, Sentinels are 3-3 in their last 6 games on Ascent. It has not been, nearly as strong as their Bind or their Haven, or even, some of the stuff we've seen from them on Breeze has been quite strong, as well as Icebox. This has been a map that they have had a couple of hiccups on. Particularly their attacking side has been a struggle at times. They only win just a little over half their attacking rounds compared to defense, where they were over 60%. So, they're going to have to, really get some work done here to, take this pick away from Knights, and certainly winning pistols a great step in the right direction. So come in with the SMGs here.
Well, Knights looking to set up an advanced position here through B main. Utility to try to bait out some shots, and Frosty, he may just try to play a timing here. See if he can maybe sneak away a kill and then have a little bit of help to get away. Here comes the peak, but dapr will find first blood. Nanostorm trying to delay any exit, and it's a little unfortunate. Ban could not quite hit the dash through, so it will be the Nanostorm that gets the 2-for-1 trade for Sentinels.
Yeah, really well done there from dapr. Smart thinking to allow no escape, to force him to take damage, and eventually just force him into a frag. And great owl drone here, going to stop any prodding from Skuba, as well as clears out Wine. So it's going to give them a little bit less they need to be worried about as they start coming into the A site to finish the job on this 4-on-3 situation.
The gravity well will expire. Sentinels will make their way forward. Marshall in hand for TenZ may not even be required, as the only contestant down low was Skuba. So now it's just down to what can you do, Knights, from the top. And, well, everything's being watched, shock darted. It's not looking all that great for XXiF. Tries to make a play for a Sheriff, but as he does, the greedy call will be punished. ShahZam able to collect the final kill, and Sentinels, as expected, take the second round in the half.
And now what can they get off of their bonus? We saw Knights successful with theirs. That's how they got a 4-0 start on their attack in the first half. Sentinels, again, certainly a team that's no strangers to also playing an up-tempo style. They have a lot of heavy hitters who are very good in those aggressive moments. I think ShahZam, being a former Jet main, no stranger to being aggressive in his own right when needed. Obviously, SicK, we know how much of a Swiss Army knife that guy has been for Sentinels throughout his time on the team. He's played so many different roles and really can change his pace depending on what the team needs.
How about this, though? Sentinels getting aggressive from both sides of the map. They've got some pressure in towards Wine, and that early slow orb that was placed doesn't actually allow any opportunity here for Sentinels to get in towards B main. So Knights are in a really good spot here to try to lock down both outside areas of the map before there's ever really going to be a hit towards either site.
Yeah, they have snuck Ban into Wine position. They have a bit of a bait and switch with Skuba set up there at the main archway. So they have A, really well patrolled, which opens up XXiF to be a lot more flexible in how he moves across the map defensively. He's got that barrier up to cover Cat for now. ShahZam is now breaking that, and that's important because it's going to force a little bit more respect out of XXiF instead of just firm locking into mid. Owl Drone going to come out, get shut down right away by ShahZam. That's big, and they're starting to get to B lobby. Lots of damage being exchanged, but Frosty's the one coming out on top here. TenZ does rattle back with the Marshall and avoids Frosty, so they do get it back into a 4 versus 4 at the very least. But again, their time is low. They don't have that much map control right now. They don't even have A lobby. They don't have tree. They're going to have to work very carefully here with little time to try to make something happen on this A site.
But the barrier orb does dissolve just before the hit is required, so this 2-2 split over towards A could potentially find success. The problem is the health pools. SicK and TenZ underneath half HP. Skuba, Nebula up. Sees the shots coming through. Actually, he's taking so much damage right now, but just wants to deny the spike from getting forward. 10 seconds on the clock. SicK trying to play from topside heaven, finds himself a rifle to work with. 0 point comes through, but again, the spike is still not on site, and that will be likely it unless they can find this kill on a Frosty, who is very avidly aware that there is not enough time for a plant, and the Red Bull clutch will be given to the Knights as they do take the third.
Yeah, Sentinels just ran so low on time. Great Nebula put up on A main to really break up that A split. It did allow Sentinels to clear out Wine, which was nice, but again, it forced them to play through a smoke when actually coming onto the H side itself. And that's where Skuba could get that spike down. That's what won them the round in the end. Really nicely done here from Knights. Good disruption inside B lobby. Just good map control through and through. They had all their bases covered. And they are not going to allow Sentinels to fit through a bonus, but now it's full buy versus full buy. Another big test for Knights. See what they can do up against this potent Sentinels attack.
Once again, you've got an opportunity through mid. Okay. So there it is, TenZ ban, that 1v1 that's existed through this mid corridor largely throughout the entirety of the first half, once again finds itself early, and it's a first blood for Sentinels.
That's literally just TenZ things right there, like in a nutshell. That is just what he allows. He can bring this really unique individual play that can be so impactful, but that's a great trade back, a great little double peek there from Knights at Market. SicK, though, able to get the exchange. Now they're putting that pressure on A. They have pushed ZIF way back on tree. They're going to get access to A site. It's going to force a retake out of Knights. A man down. So this is a big move from Sentinels to get the spike down on site.
ZIF and Genghsta were the only two players to not get into full ARs this round. Still just the Sheriff for ZIF. Nanostorm to clear off this initial cover towards Heaven. dapr still holding on to site. Support from SicK. A lot of utility to spend here, but Frosty, as there is a reveal onto zombs, they do collect at least one elimination. dapr's position now revealed. But the biggest issue largely is ShahZam from this advanced angle, but how about it? Genghsta's actually able to not just take him down, but actually finds the third in the round, leading it to a 1v1. ZIF does collect a rifle. So an even battle, largely speaking, but SicK holds it tight, wins the 1v1, and Sentinels take their 9th.
I mean, that was closer than it should have been, Shifter, for honest. I mean, Sentinels did such a great job with that mid battle, as well as pushing ZIF off and getting a free A site. ShahZam also at great positioning in A main post plant. They had a lot of things going for them. Yes, we do see a response to TenZ's entry, but again, it was still great trading back from Sentinels, but SicK eventually gets put in a very tough clutch, but brings it down. Really well handled. Very stressful situation that he didn't show any signs of cracking under. And now they're going to get a little bit of a freebie, so to speak, with just one Vandal in play here for Knights.
One of the things we did see, though, from Knights on their offensive half was in rounds like this, they were at least able to mitigate, if not put a little bit of pressure on the economy for Sentinels, finding a lot of eliminations. But this is going to be a much different round, especially with Knights trying to come through mid, and zombs, who's just solely responsible for the flank. If the timing is there actually may be an opportunity to re-peek this, and the sentry drone's going to give zombs all the information that he's going to need. SicK from one side up mid. Good flash, takes the double. And now Knights is essentially just completely stuck mid-map. There's really nowhere for them to go. Although Ban does keep it interesting with one, but the spike's going to be planted.
Sentinels just had all their bases covered, man. Yeah. I mean, that's really all it is. They had the turret watching for the flank through middle. They had zombs there as kind of a safety catch as well. They had everything that they needed. They get B, they get spike down. A little bit of ruckus being caused, though, economically here, with Ban getting a couple of kills. And now SicK's getting pinched inside Gelato. He goes down. So, yeah, like you said, free weapons getting exchanged here. dapr trying to bring those back down, and he will do so with the Phantom. So good job not letting them carry over any weapons, but still a lot of rebuying Sentinels have to do when the score is this close and you're having to tap into your savings account like this. It's one of those situations where if Knights can win here, all of a sudden, you don't have that big reserve that you can tap into and keep buying for the rest of the game. It can get really dicey all of a sudden, especially with this many alts in play from Knights. They have 4 alts right now.
Yep. And keep an eye out for some trickery through A-Long, because Ban is bringing a judge to the action here, Dust. This could get interesting because Sentinels are setting up with 4 players in this direction. You already see the defensive star placements. This is possibly going to be an aggressive hit.
That dagger judge combo can be so deadly. You can fight at both ranges with no problem. Especially that judge up close can be so dangerous. And that's why you're seeing Sentinels be so cautious, I feel like, on approaching this A lobby. But they are making some good progress up catwalk as well. And ZIF is kind of alone in this moment. So if they can catch him, it could be great. Good barrier.
What does this owl drone see? Ban is in this sneaky position, just making sure that Skuba stays completely concealed. Null Command comes out, Hunter's Fury to follow, and Skuba gets dealt with by a Nanostorm. That is unfortunate to say the least, but there's at least a couple of counter trades to come through for the Knights. One of them being on towards SicK, but it's a very easy resurrection in the position that he had fallen. So we get to a 4v3, the cross being watched by Genghsta, but Sentinels largely with all these smokes will get on.
Yeah, I think that's the most important point. Is SicK died in a place where he could be easily res. A lot of times that KO might be in a tough spot, but look at this. Knights fighting back all of a sudden. Spike has yet to even go down, and this is getting tough now on Sentinels. They're going to try to plant back generators. Just zombs and ShahZam up. Now, Frosty is low on HP, and yeah, like you said, that lockdown is going to force them into known post-plant positions, but ShahZam breaks it. But now
The
he's all
problem
alone.
is he loses his teammate 1v3. Everybody knows where ShahZam is. Shock Dart does connect for a little bit. Able to get one, but nothing more. XXiF very wisely steps off the initial toggle for the defuse to help his low HP teammate in Frosty. And it's the Knights who do retake successfully after what looked to be a really solid start for Sentinels.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, it's so many ults got spent in that round, though. Let's be honest. All of the ults except for TenZ's Blade Storm popped off there from Sentinels, and the only ults that are left for Knights are going to be their own Blade Storm as well as Cosmic Divide. So that was a very ult-heavy round, and now things kind of balance out a little bit more. The problem is SicK has to go for Spectre here, I think. I know he does get a Phantom in the end. Never mind. Just maybe sacrifice something else to get that. TenZ has Blade Storm, so they're able to pretty much have a full buy here, but this could be a really big swing run if Knights can capitalize.
Both Jets going to pull out the blades here. Early positioning. Going to be at least lurked through mid with that recon dart coming out for Knights. And they are going to move pretty darn quickly here. But it's Ban who's able to find the first headshot. That will completely stop Sentinels in their track. And Ban, I think he's very really understanding that there's more players that are here. But SicK does at least find one trade. But it's a 2-for-1 overall off of what is essentially a free economy play from Ban. Good stuff for the Knights defensively.
So brilliant. So brilliant how he chased down that recon ball and got basically a free frag, which is ShahZam making some headway onto this B site. Might be able to save the day here. Looking for another. Gets it onto Genghsta. That's massive. Skuba does fight back, but it's an even 2-on-2. And they have site control now for Sentinels and time.
0 Point will be able to scout out the playthrough market. Alarm bot trying to keep the backside staircase safe. But Skuba, do you use and how would you use this Cosmic Divide to potentially retake this site? No other utility remaining here for Sentinels. They deal with the alarm bot. Time's starting to become a bit more of a problem. SicK trying to take an off angle, denied. Leaving it to dapr, 1v2. Gets the opportunity for the first, collects it, and does it very cleanly. It's dapr for the double. A 1v2 and a Red Bull clutch for Sentinels. Completely stops what would have been a momentous round for the Knights.
Again, dapr may not leap off the page like TenZ and Co do, but he is so good in those very particular moments, which is such an important role on any team to have. A guy who just has the grit, who can just keep their composure in shaky situations like this, and he plays that about as well as you possibly could, and he's netted with the result that his team needed. That was so brilliant. A very scrappy, chaotic round. You know, so many things were going Knights' way early on with Ban's ult, being able to get that double kill. SicK does kind of alleviate a bit of pressure with his, but it's really ShahZam that you have to give a lot of credit to as well. His entries onto B site is what all of a sudden changed the whole course of that round. Without those entries, Knights were in firm control based on Ban's play, but ShahZam unlocks the round again, and then dapr cashes in with a huge 1v2 clutch. That was big, and now Knights have to think about things because now all of a sudden that gap is getting created. You know, Sentinels are moving closer and closer to map point. You know, the economic pressure is starting to be a little bit more alleviated here for Sentinels as well. And we haven't seen really any consistency for any team. No team's won more than 2 rounds in a row this half. You know, there's been no big comfort area for either squad. And I think that's what Knights need to think about here is that they're going to have to start stringing some in a row. Otherwise, if it keeps going back and forth with this slot, Sentinels are automatically going to win at some point. You know, so this is a big moment, especially considering their economy. They're brought down to 0 on 3 of their players. And they have only the Cosmic Divide. They're nowhere near ults right now.
Yeah, nowhere near ults and only 1 set of full armor. This is going to be a very dangerous round. But a little bit early damage tallied onto TenZ. It's not a bad start, but dapr is working closer and closer towards lockdown. But how about the Knights? 3-man stack aggressively through long A. The only player for Sentinels here at the moment is zombs, but I put emphasis on that because the spike looks like it very well may want to rotate, but that will now be taken off the table. Good first blood tallied by Skuba.
Yeah, Zom spots all of those players as they come in to frag him. So Sentinels do have a little bit of information. ShahZam is making sure they're not advancing any more forward on A right now by playing this position. Well, they don't really have any map control to counter. They didn't get into B lobby. They didn't get up catwalk. And now Knights were able just to kind of reset back into standard positioning with man advantage. And Sentinels are having to put a lot of effort into just clearing back out A lobby and wine right now with this owl drone, as well as the fragment.
It's a lockdown.
Lockdown, though, comes in, though, to clear out the bulk of A site. Drone makes a little bit of progress on site as well. But look at this. Skuba able to get back in. I think he might get attacked by the 0 point, though. Dodges it.
Does get hit heavily by the nanostorm. To follow doesn't make a difference. Skuba at least is able to take down 1 with his life. Lockdown now fades. Spike being planted. The Cosmic Divide shortly to evade also from this position through the long side at A. Recon bolt denied. Bando on the way in. Ziff up top, good for the first. Can Sentinels hold this as a 2v3 on towards site? ShahZam collects a headshot, but cannot firm the kill. And with that, Knights will cleanly retake. It's 3 from Ziff, 3 massive kills from Ziff on that retake. And Knights will be able to take a much-needed round, getting them to 9.
Yeah, that's a really great round from Knights. Just, tripling up on an extremity, getting a favorable duel against Zombs, taking it, having the time to reset back in the standard position. I think the other big thing that happens there is Skuba finds a way to slip back into A site despite the threat of the lockdown. I think he dodged the 0 point somehow, and despite taking some damage from a turret and a nano, he still finds his man. He still is able to get a frag, and then Cosmic Divide goes down to block off A lobby from being a threat so they can just simply focus on site, and that's when all the gears start to churn. That's when the recon comes out. That's where Ban goes dashing in on the safety of his cloud burst, and that's where they can start getting some space to battle back on A, and they win a lot of those fights very cleanly. And that's the round they needed to put Sentinels back into safe position on just Sheriffs. They're keeping that score tight, putting themselves right back in striking distance.
Man, this is a different Knights from last week. That much is for sure.
This is more the Knights that we were hoping to see based on what we saw earlier this year in the open qualifiers.
Absolutely. Bando going to be tested. 1. Not going to get a double, but is able to at least keep his life a little while longer. Ziff there for the follow-up. Good slow orb to completely entrap TenZ. So it's a double there. You see the spike. You wall off the play through mid. And for these last 2 Sentinels members, I just don't know how exactly you do this with how split up you are. ShahZam would have to hit an incredible shot here. And he actually takes a headshot of his own, but it's not enough for the full kill. But Skuba's gotten his target down to absolutely critical HP.
Yeah, not a whole lot that Sentinels can do here. Not with just Sheriffs, not without possession of Spike right now. It's still locked in at tree. They're separated from each other as well, which is them at low HP at A lobby. Pretty much a formality at this point. We're just waiting for the final I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed. I mean, this should be a 10th round for Knights. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's all about that next round that we have to think about. What's Sentinel's adjustment going to be on the attack? I feel like getting a little bit deeper mid-pressure could be a good ticket to start breaking up some of these stacks that Knights are implementing on the lobby areas. But it's really up to them. I mean, Sentinels are a pretty well-balanced team on what type of tempo they can play. And, ShahZam's a very experienced IGL at this point. And, I mean, they're one of the teams that still have so much chemistry because they're one of the few rosters that did not change in this offseason. They have maintained
That's such a good point.
This same, crew that they are very comfortable playing off of each other. And I think that there's been a lot of concern about Sentinels because of what happened to them at Masters Berlin and Champions. But look, they're still the cream of the crop in North America. I don't think that that's necessarily changed. Certainly new contenders have risen up. Like Xset's gotten stronger and stronger. Optic's still sitting out there as a consistent top 4 team. There's definitely other threats now that weren't there before. But they're still so well known to be one of the best in this region. You got to wonder, there should be an adjustment here. But, what a poke from Ban.
For him to take that double after taking the sentry drone down with the first shot is brazen to say the least, but TenZ, who did not bring an operator into this round, is taken off from first blood. And just to hit on the desk's point, everyone was wondering who would be the player to step up when TenZ maybe struggles. He is struggling, by the way, and it's dapr, maybe the unexpected agent that's come through to provide. And now it's going to have to really large on, SicK, ShahZam. What can you do to re-entry here without your jet?
Yeah, that's such a big entry tool taken off the board now, where you're not going to be able to close distance as well, get that space opened up as far as an entry goes. Genghsta gets a good recon bolt out, gets so much intel off the back of that as well. Maybe some chip damage as well here with shock darts coming in. Sentinels are getting absolutely halted. Nano Swarm stalling them out as well. They're able to get out onto Switch, but they're still a man down. SicK has been whittled to such low HP. It's going to be such a tough breakthrough that he has to try to do now, and he's down.
Nothing there, but ShahZam at least confirms one trade. Sentinels jumping down together, spamming through the nebula. Take a second with them. Ban up top, not able to connect with the operator. 3v3 as dapr plants. The retake still needed, but there's plenty of time to set this up if you're the Knights. Not a lot of tools to necessarily use here, outside of just the weaponry that you bring to the table. Zombs watching one side, dapr the other. ShahZam the last one that would peek. Here's dapr, tested and eventually denied. ShahZam following up. He would have to get the full ace, and he may just do it. No! Skuba shuts it down, and we get tied at 11. And you thought for a second that it was going to be the full-on ace. ShahZam had a really good look at that last 1v1.
He really did. ShahZam was doing wonders for his team to try to reel that one back in. When TenZ goes down and they're getting stalled out so much on B, SicK follows suit, unable to find an opening on site, you start to think that it's just going to be a done deal for Knights quick. But ShahZam catches a couple of big frags in his own right to get this site back open for his team and get that spike down. But again, we have to hit this. There's just been too many times throughout this game where Sentinels are on the back foot and they're relying on a big clutch moment like this. It's happened a couple of times with dapr. It happened there for ShahZam. And you can't always count on that to go your way. You know, that's not a consistent way to win rounds. They need something more clean. They need to be able to establish themselves a little bit earlier and not take so much damage along the way.
Oh,
my God.
and Skuba's intuition just to peek through the nebula. That takes down TenZ once again.
How many
dapr
opening
only
picks
a
is for
Spectre to
Knights?
work with. Couldn't possibly find the trade, but Ban does get away, if only just barely. Nanoswarm out, desperately looking for an opportunity to capitalize on the kill, but Ban does survive.
I just feel like Knights are getting all the opening picks right now lately.
Yeah, for
They're
real.
just getting so many first bloods. There's been no real response from Knights. SicK again gets whittled down so low. Knights hold on the tree position. They're not even pushed off. skuba still holds an advanced angle here. This is getting so dangerous. He's still standing tall. Finally cleared out by dapr, but he's done so much damage.
Oh, and Ban does hold the angle. Spamming through the null command is Genghsta. This is a full buy, by the way, for Sentinels. They're going to have no economy going into the next round. Zombs, can you do anything? Not at all. Trying to get SicK back into the picture will not be allowed, as a full bodyguard line of Knights members will guard not just the res, but also the spike, leaving ShahZam in a 1v3. Nothing there. And Knights up 12-11 on match point. And Sentinels, what can you buy, if anything?
Yeah, they're just getting rattled right now, man. They're getting no initial space on this map. Knights are the ones dictating the pace. They're the ones getting the entries. They're the ones just slowing Sentinels down and whittling them little by little. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. You know, they just keep taking damage along their way to a site. They're never getting firm map control or getting really comfortable into one of these lobby areas. And yeah, coming into this, it's just Spectres. It's the one Guardian on SicK. TenZ now picks up one as well. No ults in play other than Cosmic Divide. And again, I'd love to see them maybe threaten Market and Gelato a little bit more. Try to break up this defense a little bit. You know, if you're going to lose space on these lobbies, at least threaten middle and force them to have to fall back and handle that. You know, I think that's the adjustment Sentinels could maybe make here, because they're struggling on these initial choke points.
Ban not going to try to tempt the fates this time. Being suppressed out by the 0 point, we'll just take an errant shot and then back away and reposition also. Keep an eye on that defensive jet, as Ban is making a play all the way back around towards mid. Sentinels have not really encroached onto either site as of yet, although the spike still lurks mid, and there likely will be some sort of point of contact here as they fight over this very, very needed ultimate orb, as dapr really would love to get a lockdown in play. Skuba wants to continue to threaten. That will delay the inevitable for a while.
Yeah, good job there from Sentinels to push him off of A lobby. That gives him some control and the ability to get that lockdown to start clearing out this A site. That's their one hope. They need this lockdown to work. They need to be able to get in there and get something going. Cosmic Divide, though, counters them. It now stalls them out a bit. Yeah, absolutely. And it comes earlier. It's going to make it harder for them to get on this site with that lockdown. Finally, though, they press Ban off with that dart from the owl drone, and now they can get in. But skuba still stands underneath this heaven area. He's been suppressed. I know he's there.
Shock Dart does at least connect. Spike planted. Knights taking their time with this. And they eventually do connect onto Skuba. Up top, the rest of the Knights are fully funneled. And look at the information off the dart. Resurrection will come through, but TenZ wants to take the angle away. Finds another kill on a Frosty, earns the knives. TenZ for a fourth. Could potentially go for the six-pack here. Has the next player up in Ban, but Ban denies. Knives of his own. 3v2 on this retake. Time becoming a problem. ShahZam deep, able to find one more. Long-range shot's not going to connect. 1v2. Not going to happen. Zombs, Sentinels, somehow they make their way through the round and send it to OT.
Yeah, and I think that the important point to make there is they don't lose someone early. They play a little bit more cautious. They use that turret and their utility to clear out A lobby rather than just facing it outright with rifles. They get the lockdown. They start getting some space. They wait out that Cosmic Divide. They don't let that harm them, and then they do get to sight, and that's where they can play in their comfort zone. They can put the pressure on Knights now to retake, and they just never even allow them to pass this heaven corner. TenZ so big, standing firm in the site. Ult comes through as well, and now it comes down to overtime. Sentinels not done yet. They will not lay down. Knights, I have to applaud them. This looks a lot better. This looks more like the team that we were impressed by in Nerd Street winner chance when they made the grand finals there against XSET, and when they ran through the open qualifiers, upsetting several teams along the way.
Oh,
But Sentinels are not done, man.
How about that? First time we've seen TenZ try to take an aggressive angle away after the recon bolt comes through, and it works for a first blood. And all of a sudden, maybe the tables have turned just a touch as Knights are still looking to potentially put some pressure over towards the A side. They realize that TenZ in this position towards B. Knights are not interested in fighting him, but the problem is TenZ is repositioned.
And there's so much utility on this A side right now, man. And
Oh,
TenZ gets
man.
another onto ban. Seems like the momentum relatively has pivoted in that Jet v Jet duel right now. Skuba is able to still maintain some A lobby presence, but they've just been, you know, kind of crushed on all fronts right now. They lost a player at B lobby. They've lost a player at A lobby. They have no real map control right now. It's kind of desperation as far as Knights are concerned. They're bringing Spike into B side. They're starting to try to gather up here. But again, there's still some good utility in place to stall them, even on this B attack. There's a grab well available right there with the star. There's still some Killjoy utility here. There's TenZ here. That's already a threat in itself that he exists on the server. So let's see if they can break through. There is that grab. That slows him down yet again. Now ShahZam's in
25 seconds
position.
of the clock. TenZ, goodness, he's looking like Mel Gibson in The Patriot. He's just everywhere. He's on A, he's on B, he's back on A, he's back on B again. He's all over the place. And I'm sure the Knights are thinking, did he load into the server twice? Because how has he been at both sites both times he tried to hit?
Yeah, TenZ has been really good dynamics. Being able to poke and prod again. Great use of Astra utility. They buy time for ShahZam to get to back halls to be another element to the crossfire on that entry point. And now Sentinels are up 13-12. A chance now. They have advantage to win the map here and now take this pick away from Knights. Knights look like they were going to be the ones making the comeback, but instead Sentinels hold firm, forcing the OT, and now they have the edge going into this, what could be a final round. Man, trying to get aggro out in the middle, though. And I like this. Sentinels aren't just throwing themselves out there now.
Correct. The Aldrone will scout this play out. Man, not safe, has to start to back away. Still wants one. He's able to take it, but there is a trade to come through as TenZ is still pushing forward. XXiF on a cross on top of his own barrier orb could do nothing. And as dapr takes down Genghsta, the numbers start to amount. Here comes the flood. The only defensive player inside the site would be Frosty, and there's not a lot of utility for him on hand. He would have to get some help from Skuba, and he actually does get some assistance here. That'll slow down Sentinels a touch. Both nanostorms will be popped, and we go to a 3v3. The take not yet here.
I'm a little surprised by that peak from SicK, honestly. Kind of gave the edge away. Now it's back even 3-on-3. Sentinels do still have some footholds, though, on this site. And now the info comes through with that blip on double stack box. But in the meantime, XXiF and Skuba also strike. It leaves ShahZam alone. 1v2. He does have Spike. He's got time. He'll get the plant. But this is a tougher clutch for him to handle.
No utility, no recon bolt. Has to do
hi.
this the old-fashioned way. He sees both. I'm sure the pleasantries exchanged were anything but pleasant, and XXiF will make sure this overtime continues, takes the 1v1 backside boat, and that will be enough to get us to 13-13.
Yeah, I think the only thing I wonder a little bit about there is that peak from SicK into back halls. I do just wonder about that. They had 4-on-3. They were up on switch. They were getting some positioning on B. I get they don't want to have someone run through back halls and catch them in the back while they're trying to peek into boat because there was still a player on site they were going to have to deal with. But something seemed to get a little bit disjarring there from Sentinels once they were in B with man advantage. I don't know what slipped in communication, but it felt like they kind of fumbled that just a touch, and now we're into more overtime rounds here. Sentinels stay on the defense. They kick things off in OT.
Pulling them in.
Another different look this time from Sentinels defensively. 3-man stack initially over towards 8, and they're going to double stack wine with the help of SicK. They could potentially still want to work forward if they want to, but instead they'll just kind of play this very sneaky beaver play with these two members that are going to be very unexpected in the back, especially considering that there is really nothing that they can use utility-wise to clear this if you're Knights, at least not at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, and now, you know, TenZ is there, sure, but he can just dash away. You know, I may not expect that second player to be there, which is SicK, so that could be a big moment for Sentinels if there's an A-lobby commitment later that SicK might be able to get the jump on someone. It also maybe frees up zombs to, you know, not have as much to think about to rotate because they have such firm positioning on a lobby. And they have a lot of utility here at B. They still have the Astra Star there. They have all the Killjoy utility. They have ShahZam there with all of his abilities. He'll be able to recon B lobby. Kind of get an idea that it's still clear. I like this droning, though, from Knights to come up middle. They haven't really pressured mid this deep, this quickly, and now they're already into market threatening this B split.
And a lot of this utility that's here for Sentinels will be mitigated just by the route that's taken. So now dapr, once again, from this position, would have to do something unbelievable. And they're not going to be able to. It's only a 1-for-2 trade. TenZ quickly trying to rotate over, but they've already made their way through. Spike could be planted, and it will be. Genghsta now locking things down. It looks like TenZ actually wants to try to contest this early. 0 Point will come through. Imagining it will get a lot of suppression, if not information. But you got to find a way to still capitalize on this take. There's the flash. TenZ now to peek. Takes the first. Looking for the double. It's TenZ on 2. Last player left alive for the Knights is Frosty. It'd be a 1v3 for him. He gets the second. A 1v1. Bang! Frosty for 3. And it's the Knights that take the advantage in the second OT.
Oh, what a slugfest of a round, because, again, I love the adjustment from Knights on the attack. We haven't really seen that out of them throughout regulation. This quicker mid-push, this deeper play into market. Like you said, bypassing the utility at B made by routing through market. But Sentinels, such a brilliant pop flash onto site, leading to TenZ collecting all kinds of frags. You think the retake is coming through, and then all of a sudden, Frosty, the young one, the 16-year-old, the IGL, comes out and clutches massive to give Knights edge in this overtime. Such a brilliant little play. We've been talking about dapr and Co's clutches all game long, but now Frosty adds one to his belt. And at such a pivotal moment, that could be it. That could be the spark that Knights need to close on their pick here of Ascent. Again, they had a 20-game winning streak on until getting kind of embarrassed by version 1 last week, if we're honest. But now they're going up against what has been considered the top team in NA for so long. For practically a whole year, Sentinels have been on the throne of North America. Yes, they've had plenty of contenders come passing through. Yes, they look less powerful internationally at the end of last year, but there's no denying that Sentinels have been the bread and butter of North America. Now, they've fended off pretty much every opponent within the region. And Knights, we talked about how great their year has been, how well they ran
So good through the quals, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even when they didn't win the first qualifier, they still were knocking out teams like TSM and Dark Zero. Like, they were still impressive. They just kind of, lost to very other impressive teams like Garden Energy. Then they came back in the second qualifier and took care of business against BBG and Sonics, and that's how they got here. And then again, they made the grand finals of Nerd Street winner. They beat Pioneers. They beat the Guard. They beat a crew. They were doing all these great things. It's just version 1 crushed them last week, but they didn't let that get to them apparently, because they're looking hot here against Sentinels.
Another different look this time as Ban has gone to the greedy buy of the operator, and it does pan out. Again, not the greatest dash in the world, but hey, he still gets out with his life. He'll get back to 100 HP off the healing orb and a numbers advantage as Knights try to get this overtime out of the way in their favor. 5v4 and the Aldro now used for Sentinels as they still look to try to put at least some pressure here today. The spike is not here though, Dust.
Yeah, they're just trying to at least get a little bit of presence inside A lobby, clear out Y, maybe get some vision on site. Looks like it is going to be a bit of a feint, though. They still have that spike, like you said, with TenZ on the other side, but they're just getting crushed on all fronts. They're not getting any space, any entries, and they're all just spread thin now. And now they have to play a 3 versus 5 with virtually no intel. They're all gathering up A lobby. They can try to burst in here, sure, but, I mean, they're just getting pummeled.
Yeah, you have to rely that Ban will miss a shot and you can immediately trade, and that is at least the initial call. The problem is Skuba is here to assist, and that may be enough as he's able to take down one more. 2v4 situation. Ziff over the middle of the map is going to be denied by the door, so he realizes, okay, let me see if I can break this as soon as humanly possible. Shock dart over the top brings Zombs down to 4 HP and also denies the plant. Now all the members of the Knights still here, 20 seconds on the clock. Zombs trying to plant for ShahZam, who knows at this point that he's going to probably have to clutch from this backside of A.
And ShahZam could get flanked. He has no idea. This is so stressful.
Oh, and it's not clean. Not clean from ShahZam. It's going to be Knights. 2 straight rounds off of an impressive 1v3 from Frosty. They get it done off of the opening first bloods. So many better corrections here, Dust, in a much needed map, especially considering it is obviously their biggest bread and butter.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. It kind of starts to prove that loss to version 1 might have just been like a small blip on the radar. That Knights really well and truly is a team on the rise in the region, and starting to look like that team that we were expecting to see in VCT after some of their other play earlier this year. So tip your hat to Knights, man. Coming through, battling from behind, forcing it. Sentinels were able to get it back into overtime, but it never rattled Knights. They were able to stay in it the whole way through and eventually get the dub. So congrats to them.
Great stuff coming through. The full map recap and the setup for map number 2 will be handled by the desk when we come back right after the break. Don't go too far.